Welcome to another episode of Glorious Life on Wheels. In this episode, I share a story of two sisters who loved each other dearly, but were separated in childhood and didn't see each other again for 43 years. Each of the sisters longed for and looked for the other for decades without success. This is a story of loss and heartbreak, but ultimately hope fulfilled. This is a story I think will pluck the strings of your heart, but bring a smile to your face. Well, hello, Helen.
Hi, Carol. How you doing?
I'm good. Oh my gosh. This is a story from the moment you shared just a snippet of it with me. I knew it was something I had to tell. And I'm just so grateful that you're allowing me to be the one to tell this story. So you were telling me that when you were 8 months old and your sister was 3 years old, she was taken and adopted by another family.
Yes.
So it was a family that was kind of connected to...
Yeah, they were like friends of ours.
Okay. And you remained with your dad.
Dad.
And her adoptive parents, though you were saying, allowed you to continue having contact with her.
Exactly.
And up to what age did that continue?
Until about 10.
And then it just stopped cold turkey?
It just stopped cold turkey.
So at 10 years old, that must have been just a shock to you to have her just disappear from your life like that?
Yeah. Absolutely. Especially not knowing why. And then when I was still 10, the
CPS, like child workers?
came in, and they decided that my dad was a little too elderly to take care of me, and they wanted me to go to a foster home, but we did find a person that adopted me. And 2 years later, when I was 12 years old, they officially adopted me. But I still didn't know where my sis was. Nobody knew where my sis was. So
that was like a double loss. You lost your sister, and then you lost your father. That's you know, I know people now who are in their 80s being guardian for great grandchildren. But then I guess it was different.
Yeah, it was back then. They don't do that now. They try to keep the kids with their parents. But back then they were very strict about it. And I was adopted, and I was adopted to very good parents, and I was very fortunate. And so then I grew up, and I've had 7 children.
Oh my goodness.
And it's 1 girl and 6 boys. And my girl now is an RN, and I'm very proud of all my family.
You said they have turned out all very well and successful.
Yeah, I know, and we get together on, holidays and stuff, and we just, play games. We get along very well.
Now, as you were raising your children and your family, were you thinking about your sister ever, or how?
I did. You always wonder, where she could be. How could you, every time somebody come up and be a Mary Weedman, that was her maiden name, Weedman. And it was a very, not a common name, but it was out there. But I contacted like 4 or 5 people, and it wasn't her. So I had no success on finding her. But in 2017, my kids bought me for a Christmas present a DNA thing, and I did my thing for the DNA. And so they started wondering about the sister I talk about all the time, and they go, well, have you tried to, find your sis? And I said, yes. And then one of my sons said, well, I'll go on Facebook, and I'll see if I can find her. And
now, you had done this before, gone on Facebook before.
I had done that before, and I didn't see her on there.
Okay.
So apparently she had gone on Facebook, but used her maiden name. before she was using her married name.
Okay.
And then she got back on and did her maiden name. And when my son John went on Facebook, he saw her name and he says, I believe I'm your nephew. And she contacted him, and it was true. It was her nephew. And so about 2 months later, she was over with me, and we celebrated our birthdays together, because mine's on the 15th and hers is on the 16th of July.
So that was the first time in 40 years?
Yeah, 43 years that we
43
had seen
years.
each other, yeah.
So did she post her name with her maiden name in hopes of finding you?
Yes, that's what she was hoping for, and it worked.
Wow. So where did you meet for the first time, and what happened when you saw her and she saw you?
Well, she actually, we did Facebook together, and she said she was going to come out for our birthdays. And I said, okay. And she flew over from Florida. That's where she was, in Florida.
So she came a long way to find you and see you.
She came a long way. And I picked her up at the airport, and that's where I saw her for the first time after 43 years at the airport.
Oh my goodness. And what did she do or say when she saw you?
She started crying. Me, I'm just like, I don't think it really hit me right away. It was like, okay. So it took a little while, and but then the first thing we did was we took a trip, because I was ready to travel. And I told her, I said, hey, you want to hang around with me? You're going to have to travel. So we got in a Honda Civic. Because that's
The both of you?
The both of us. And we packed what we thought we needed. And we headed off, and we did a 7,500-mile trip.
Oh my goodness. Now you were a camper.
I was a camper.
Now, how about her?
No, never a day in her life. So she was shocked. And she, with so many things she had never done. And
Such as?
Like pee in a bucket? I don't think she's going to like that comment, but that's true. And I said, hey, either you do it or I don't know what to do. But, waking up in the middle of the night and hearing noises, and then sleeping in a tent at 26 degrees.
Oh
when you wake up and
goodness.
there's ice on your tent. So, yeah.
So it sounds like she was a trooper.
She was a trooper.
Now
I was amazed.
Now how old were you and how old was she when you did this?
Well, let's see. She came over at 65. I think it was about 67. I was 67, and she was 69, I think.
So 69.
Isn't
So you turned your sister into a camper at 69.
I did. She preferred to call herself Traveler.
Okay, all right. So she became a traveler at
Yes.
69.
Yeah, she's a traveler. So, but after the Civic episode, it was very tight quarters. We had to sleep in a tent. And if we didn't find a place to sleep in the tent, we had to sleep in the car. So it was very comical.
I can't imagine.
I would push her in the back seat, and I sit in the front seat sitting up sleeping. So it was funny.
Oh.
But it was fun. I mean, as hard as it was totally fun. I mean, but the whole thing is, when you're determined to do something,
Yes.
and you only have certain things to do it in, just do it. Whether it's hard or not.
Now, would you say that during that time that you spent camping with her on that first trip, did you reconnect? Did you
Oh, yeah.
feel like you were making those bonds again?
Yeah, we're making those bonds again, definitely. Yeah, we got to know, each other again. We had known each other as kids, but we knew each other as adults now, and we knew what we thought. And we went through history, what she did and what I did, and things that we hadn't done together for a long time.
So a lot of catching up.
A lot of catching up, yeah.
So
I'm
now-
still catching up.
Oh, wow. So tell me, how did you go from the Honda Civic to Vanna White, which is the name of your van.
Vanna White, yeah. Well, when we came back, we decided that tent is too hard. You know, putting a tent up every day is not very nice. And the rain and the wind and just, it was hard. It was a very hard trip, but it was a fun trip. And so then I told Sis, I said, we have to get something bigger. And she said, okay. And it was about the time of COVID. And we really didn't have any money. And a friend of mine came by. I had known he had this van for about 15 years. So I knew the van.
So you knew the history.
I knew the history. It did have a few mechanical problems that I dealt with. But he came up and he says, you want to buy my van? And I said, yeah, how much you want for it? And he says, $3,000. And I said,
goodness.
oh, yes, I'll take it.
That is almost giving it to you.
Yeah, exactly. So he said, well, I'm only going to give you until May. And this was in December when he told me. And I said, okay. So I had to come up with $3,000. I really didn't know how. I was, saving my money. Sis was saving her money. And in March, we had like 1,500. So I figured, I don't know if we're going to make it. And then COVID came, and then they sent out the checks.
Oh, my goodness.
And voila, we had the money for the van.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So it was meant to be.
It was
Totally
meant to be. So what are some of the things that you've done or places you've seen, and how often are you? I have just so many questions, and I know my viewers have so many questions. How has it turned out with her camping and you camping together in this van?
It's turned out really good because I knew I had to make it for two people. I do most of the work because the van stays at my house. We're on the road maybe 6 to 7 months.
And how long have you been doing
year.
that for?
Since 2019, steadily.
So for 6 or 7 months a year, for the last 5 years, you've been traveling with your sister,
Yes.
your long-lost sister.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's just, it makes me want to cry.
We already did the one on the California coast. That was neat. And we went to Coronado by accident because I didn't want to go to Mexico.
Okay.
So I turned the corner and it was like Coronado, and we had no clue. It was so beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, I have a sign at home that says, difficult destinations might turn into really good places. And yeah, it every once in a while I make a turn and I go into this beautiful place. So
now your sister is not with you on this trip.
yes.
And she is going through some health challenges. So
Yeah.
but hopefully you'll be back on the road together soon.
We're hoping like in April she'll be
Okay.
back, and then we'll continue traveling. I try to come out here once a year, meet with some nice friends that I
Yes.
met, like with you, and
It's my honor meeting you. It really is.
well, thank you.
So,
And
so you know what? Let's go ahead and we're going to do part 2 of this.
Okay.
And you're going to show me Vanna White and what you and your long lost sister travel in.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Let's go ahead and do that next.
Okay.